Hey Gateway, welcome back to the Staff Development White Jacket series. And today I thought we would talk about optimal performance. I have been watching the World Swimming Championships on TV recently, and just watching those athletes and just really getting to understand what it takes to perform at such a high level repeatedly got me thinking about what a definition for optimal performance is and what it takes for us to be able to perform at the highest possible level. Because at some level, I think that performance is you and I doing our best among the best that there is. And that's what a high-level performance looks like, and that's what those swimmers are doing, that's what those athletes are doing. And so let's break that down. So I think I want to do a short three-part episode on what optimal performance looks like. And here's what I think it is. Those athletes, they train, they rest, and then they perform. Nobody is permanently in training. Nobody is. Everybody is going somewhere. So they're training toward an outcome or toward a something. And nobody is permanently racing either, because that's not sustainable either. The mix is that they're training for something, and then they rest right before it, and then they perform, and then they rest to recover from the performance, and then they go back and train again. Rest, perform, rest, train, rest, perform, rest, train. So let's talk about the first of those three in this episode. We'll talk about training. And there's something that I really want to get to, because I think that you and I are experiencing a level of engagement or demand that is leaving us more fatigued than we might understand. And I think there's some answers here that I really want to share with you. So here's the idea. Training, I think, deals with us trying to get to two places. One of them is I want to sustain the current condition. So if I'm working out and I want to get to a level of fitness and then I want to keep that level of fitness, if I work out and I get to that place and then I stop, well then I just lose it, right? You have to sustain it by ongoing exercise. And there's a particular kind of training that you do in order to sustain a level of exercise. It's harder work to get to that level, but once you're there, keeping it there is a whole lot easier than getting there. We all know that. I think that's true for us spiritually and what we do at Gateway every day. We have to perform at a particular level with some ongoing consistency. And in order to be able to do that, we've got to have a certain level of training that sustains us at that performing level. But the kind that I think where we have challenge, where we have opportunity, is the next kind. And it's the kind where you're training and you're ramping up because you're preparing for an event. There's a particular something that's coming up that you really want to be able to perform well in, and you're training in anticipation of that. That kind of training involves a very particular kind of exercise. And it involves, and here's the big idea for today's thought, it involves the last 10 or 20%. All athletes will tell you that the fastest growth happens in the last 10 or 20% of what you are capable of. And so let's use a weightlifter as an example, right? If I follow a weightlifter into the gym and I want to watch his workout program and he's on an accelerated growth program where he's trying to build muscle and get stronger, then let's take one of his exercises. He'll probably do a bench press, right? And so there are two kinds of exercise patterns that you can do with any of these exercises. The first is positive failure, and so here's what I mean. The bar is here with weights on the end, and I bring it down and I push it back up again, and when I get to the top, that's one repetition. Well, when I can no longer push it to the top on my own, that's called positive failure. And positive failure is where a lot of folks quit their workout exercises. But those who are in the know that the last 10 or 20% of your capability is still lying on the table. So we go to negative failure, and here's what it means. I can not only am I no longer able to push the bar up to the top on my own, but now I'm just exercising coming down, right? I have someone else help me push it to the top, and then I'm controlling the bar coming down. Someone else take it to the top, I'm controlling it coming down, until I am so fatigued that I can no longer control the bar coming down by itself either, and I've reached negative failure in my exercises. Going to negative failure produces a growth rate of between 30 and 43% in your muscle growth and capacity. The first 90 to 80% of the work that you do to get to that level only serves to prepare you for the growth that can happen in the last 10 to 20%. So if you bail on the exercise in that first 80 to 90% of the effort time, you forfeit the opportunity to grow at a rate of 30 to 43%. But there's a catch. And the catch is, it's dangerous. Dangerous in the sense that if you do it by yourself, you could really injure yourself. And so this is what I'm trying to say. You, just like the bodybuilder, has to have what we call a spotter. It's a friend, someone who understands what your objectives are, someone who understands the extent of your physiology and what you're capable of doing, and is there to watch over you and help you lower the bar down so that you don't all of a sudden drop it and pull a muscle and rip or tear a muscle, and helps you control it. You can get phenomenal growth out of that exercise. Negative failure has the greatest possibility for growth. It's huge potential, but the risk is there's a room for damage there. Here's what I think among us as a staff. These days, I think some of us are experiencing the kind of fatigue that you get when you're in the last 10 to 20%. It's great growth opportunity to prepare you for a major event that comes in the future. But if you do it by yourself, you can really get into trouble. You could really hurt yourself. And so my appeal to all of us as staff is, if you are finding yourself in the training cycle of your yearly activities, train, rest, perform, rest, train. If you're in the training window, and the training window you're in is not the sustain a condition kind, but it's the preparing for a major event kind, and you're fatigued at a place where you think you're at the last 10 to 20%, and you're doing it without a spotter. If there isn't somebody who's walking with you, close by, helping to moderate what's going on, keeping you from injuring yourself, then I think that we open ourselves up to opportunities for damage and hurt that aren't necessary. This tool, this secret of the last 10%, it's a wonderful secret. And it makes for phenomenal growth, but it has risks. And the risks are that you can really hurt yourself. And it only happens if you go it alone. So my encouragement to us is, take somebody with you. Take somebody who you know you can trust, who you can invest in, who will invest in watching over you, and who will walk the road with you as you go. And so they will help you to make sure that you perform optimally when the time is right. And so I think the practical implication for that, for us, is if you are spending time with some folks who can form either some kind of a shield for you, a prayer shield, or some kind of accountability, or just some group of folks that are around you where you're sharing life with them and they're walking with you and praying through the issues of life with you on a regular basis, that's a safer place to be. When you go off on your own, I think we get into some dangerous ground. All right. Next time we'll deal with performance, and then the time after that we'll talk about rest. But thanks for joining me on the White Jacket series.